What's up, everyone? I have got such an epic guest today. It's really fun to be able to sit down with the guy I've been in the trenches with for the last few years. But first, if you're new to the show, this is the Becoming a Creator podcast, where we sit down with experienced creators and talk about their journey and how they got to where they are. You'll learn a bunch of things that you can apply to your own content and your journey as a content creator. I'm sitting down today with my co-founder, StoneMountain64, otherwise known as David. I've been building pipeline with him for the last few years, and his journey as a content creator is phenomenal. He's been doing this for over a decade, has over 6 million followers, and keeps on pushing across every area and every platform that he is on. He's uploading daily on YouTube. He's doing live streams daily, every single day on Facebook. He's posting across TikTok. He's also a family man, and he just manages to balance it all somehow. I don't know. He's even got a fitness regime going on right now. I'm so excited to dive into this episode and learn everything that's going on for David and how he got to where he is. David, is the beginning of the new year. Usually you're on the other side of this. You're the one that's being the host, but we've got you in the hot seat, and I'm getting a chance to find out about your journey and stuff that's happened over the years. So glad to flip it on its head a little bit and get you in the hot seat.
I'm always excited to chat.
Because we've got some incredible, this is the relaunch of the podcast, we've got some incredible guests throughout this year. I mean, folks like Lupo and everyone else, but we couldn't start it any other way than diving in with you. You've got years of experience. I was digging into a couple of things over the holidays, and I found this really interesting post you made a long, long time ago. And it was on the Mac forums, and this was you. I'll play this back to you. I'm a YouTuber looking to upgrade and get more power. I'm currently using a MacBook Air. This is back in 2012 in November. This was you looking online to upgrade your setup way back in the day when you were just getting on the frontier of streaming. You were like, I've got 5 different programs. I got to simplify this. Just like reflecting on your setup and the evolution of your setup over the years. Like, you've got a crazy setup now, but back then, you know, you were just this young guy trying to figure it out.
Now, I literally, my setup is so crazy now. It's a little absurd. I like every time I come into my studio, I'm like, wow, dude, I really love it. But yeah, I mean, when I first started, I remember my dad actually gave me a gift card, and for, you know, he was on this like radio show, and he got it and he gave it to me. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe. I guess I've been watching some videos online. I was like, And so I got my first HD PVR back at the time by Hop Hog. It was just like this little device that was a couple $100 and started recording with it. I was just using my MacBook Air laptop, which I was using, of course, back in college. And it was to the point where when I was recording, even with it, I would just use the microphone on the laptop because it was okay quality, but the fan would kick on after about 10 minutes of me recording my voice because it would start to overheat. And so I would have to record little segments and then stop, put the laptop, fold it away. I'd like write some notes out by hand of like what else I wanted to talk about and where the video was going with it. But then, yeah, then after that, I was like, I need to step it up a little bit more, as I was like, because I kept up with it. I was doing 2-3 videos every single week, and I was like, what else could I do with this? So that was kind of the beginning of me. Even I didn't even remember posting about or looking for it, but that's great. I definitely did that and upgraded to future computers and ended up, you know, getting better microphones over time. I used a Blue Yeti for a super long time. I know a lot of people use that as like an entry point type microphone with it. I only recently, I guess now it's been a couple years, but upgraded my camera, which has made the quality better. But it really is crazy. It's like, it's always just kind of like piecing together all of these different, you know, what do you need next? What's going to up the quality next? Getting the green screen going was a big thing too. Like getting the lighting for the green screen going. All of that was like big next steps that I kept making and wanted to reinvest in my content.
Yeah, when you think about it now, like that back then you were weighing up like the 21-inch monitor versus the 27-inch monitor, and like I had to get the one on the side. Now you have like, how many monitors?
I have a 4 monitor, so 3 for my main computer that I use for the game, the chat, and Discord, and so I can have it all up on the same like computer, same mouse and keyboard. And then on the second one, I've got a stream computer, which I actually have my content manager even remote in on and like help manage the stream while I'm going live, take notes for when we're doing like videos or like what we can pull clips out of and which platforms we want to put it on, and like help, you know, throw up a death counter or whatever. I've been doing a God of War playthrough. He's like been updating that for it, and like it's just kind of even become an element of the chat now. So it's like it's crazy where it's at now and kind of developed to.
How do you think about that when you've got like, you know, you want to take it to the next level at every point, right? All the way back 10 years ago, it was like you're just on the single Mac and you're like thinking about upgrading. How do you think about, I need the next monitor, I need the better microphone, I need the ability, a 2 PC setup so like someone can remote it. Like, how do you think about that at every juncture?
I didn't start by being like, okay, I need to start by getting the 4 monitors and have somebody that's working and remoting in and like helping to manage and pull clips and do things with me. It was very much like taking everything one step at a time. I always talk about this as being a marathon, not a sprint with what it is, because it's like I started with my laptop. I was like, okay, well, me folding my laptop closed every time and waiting for it to cool down so I could start talking again. I need a new microphone. And I tried a cheap microphone and got that, and it was like a headset one, and the quality was still terrible. So I was like, okay, that's not worth it. Return that. Got a different one. And it was kind of like trial and error, figuring out what works good for my setup and how I want to do it. And that's the thing too, is like, it is very dependent on the creator, on the person. How is it that some people like a green screen? I used a green screen for years. I ended up upgrading my green screen, upgrading the lighting to do more cool, unique, different things, you know, spin off me being in my mom's basement, did some cool, like little promos and such for my channel, even around that. Memes, even for donation amounts. When somebody sent to 420, I did a reenactment of a Snoop Dogg thing from one of his music videos. And it was like, that was one of the things that people ended up loving to donate for. That was like, heck yeah, it was just like a creative little thing that I could do. But it was like, what do I need next in terms of where can I get the biggest return on what I want to do? You know, me upgrading to the point of even having a dual computer setup was when I was on PC and I needed to have a way to record raw audio and gameplay for my Yolo on the Battlefield series, which is one of my biggest things that I do, and ended up blowing up. And it's like, I need to take this series to another level, isolate the audios out so I can get better text on the screens, actually understanding what the people are saying. Because sometimes when everybody's all yelling at the same time, I'm talking, they're talking, it's hard to isolate out the audio. But when I could split it apart and then subtitle everything over, you know, the hours that it took to do it, it adds that extra layer, or make a little joke about what they're saying, or spin off, or pull it, isolate a clip out, or whatever the case might be.
Talking about like the inventor, like the Yolo series you just mentioned, it's obviously one of your staples that's been around for a long time. It just continues to crush it and crush it and crush it. Your content is generally really inventive. It always feels like you're trying something new. You're like trying this, like a new series or a new content or a new medium or even like a new platform. It seems to be a recurring theme about you over the last 5-10 years. Coming up with a series of like a Yolo, like how do you come up with that series? How do you like make that happen?
There's been a lot of failed series to get to something like that, especially at the scale of kind of where it goes. But I had tried an And We Are Live series before that, where I went in and I did it for years, as a matter of fact, but I would go in and cast random lobbies as an announcer, like taking the aspect of being an NFL announcer in a Call of Duty public lobby. Now you can kind of even think of it as just like esports in public lobbies, right? Wasn't so popular esports back, 10 years ago doing it as it is today. But anyways, smashing together ideas and kind of innovating out of that is something I always love to do. And so like that was kind of an initial stepping stone, and me going into my first random lobbies with that and trying to get people's reactions. People are just telling me, shut the fuck up, like getting a really, and I was sitting there so overwhelmed of like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And then I ended up just backing out of lobbies because I was so nervous even doing that in the first place. And I had been, shit talking in lobbies for years even before that, but it was like doing that series, going in and taking another idea of Kasim G is a really popular YouTuber that I had seen going out interviewing people on Venice Beach, pulling his idea of California On and doing it Xbox On series and taking that into the Xbox lobbies, interviewing random people about like US history or whatever I did episodes on of that. And that was one of them that worked pretty good. I even got some recognition from some other creators from that, but ultimately kind of died off. And then kind of taking this one out was like, there was these big battles of Call of Duty is the better game. And then Battlefield coming out, and players of that and communities and comments and reading through that, people are saying, no, Battlefield's way more intense. This is the real game. It's not as arcadey and kid-like. This is the more realistic war type, massive lobbies and stuff. So I said, well, what if it really was real? And so I started by calling the series Battlefield is Real. But then YOLO became a thing. You only live once, and people were even commenting on that in some of my videos. I ended up changing the series title after like 6 or 7 episodes in, and it became YOLO on the Battlefield. And then I was successfully able to even transfer that series over to other things. But like a lot of this, trying new things leading up to that, as well as even coming out of that, I've done World's Best Clip of the Week. I've done it's just so many different things that I've trialed, whether it's on stream, whether it's for videos, whether it's for new platforms, obviously switching over to Facebook, creating a TikTok, to Instagram, all of these different things that I've done. It's like, if I don't keep iterating and trialing and doing the things that I did to get to the place where I got in the first place, like then that would be the one thing that I did. And there would never be anything else, which can still be great as well. But it was like, I wanted to keep on figuring out what are those next big things that I can get into that can blow up, that can create an entire new avenue of, audience that also then wants to see more of my own content and other things that I want to do that keeps me intrigued and just creatively interested.
It feels like one of the challenges of that is when you're trying something, is like, when do you decide it's enough? Like, when do you decide this idea, it was cool, it didn't work, I got to move on from that? Do you have like a system, or have you just like, have you got an intuition around that now? Like, what is
There's a lot of things. For example, I've tried to form my own like gaming type podcast countless times under countless names, even just having it be like more video based, having it with gameplay in the background, having it be for supporters only or subscribers. I ended up doing that for a while, and then switched it up to being early access for subscribers, and then it was public to everybody, and tried even different styles of like supporter only content. I do like a behind the mountain show where I show off some of the stuff, when I played with Snoop Dogg, when I played against all of these different things. And like, I kind of trial it, but there's been so many things that have fizzled off for me. I think the big thing is kind of looking at the analytics of it. Like, what are other people's interest in it? Because that is something that, besides just my passion for the game and what I'm doing, I'm also really passionate about just making content that people want to see at the end of the day, of like getting comments, getting reactions, entertaining people, having a good laugh of whatever it is, or drama or whatnot. So like, that's still part of my mission. So usually it is at least trying it for a couple months. For the most part, when I do trial something, I typically commit to it in a longer form. It's not something that I'll just do one thing on and stop. For example, even doing playthroughs of games, or when I tried to get into Overwatch, was a game I was super excited about and wanted to get into, but I couldn't make it work. I tried a couple different video styles on it. I tried doing my And We Are Live, where I went into random lobbies and casted it, and it did okay for it, but it didn't get the numbers that I was really hoping for, nor the numbers or performance of what I was doing in the past, where if I shifted back to what I was doing, I could continue to maintain. I wasn't seeing the growth over time, or the interest even in comments over time. And there's, qualitative and quantitative aspect to everything with it. It's hard to determine perfectly what it is.
How do you deal with the emotion related to the content you're putting out? Like, you put so much work, you thought it was going to be awesome, you put all this work into it, and you're like emotionally attached to this content. When you got to pull the plug, how do you deal with that?
I don't know if it's like I'm used to it and I've been through it enough to where I'm kind of comfortable with it. Like, there's been so many videos where I'm like, this is it. This is going to be such a good video. This one is going to blow up. This is hilarious. I love it. This is it. And then it just flops. It does like nothing. Like, I put more work into this one. I've heard so many other creators talk about this too, or like, oh, this is my 10 out of 10 video, meaning like, it's the worst performing one of my recent videos on YouTube. And I put more work into this than anything. And then like, I've done like just a update on the new game and my reaction to it, reading it, low effort. And I'm like, I don't even know if we want to post this. I literally just sit there and react to it. And it was so low. It's too low effort. And then I post it, and that's like one of my biggest videos recently. So it is really hard to ever predict it. I don't know if I've just been through those trials enough with it, where I realize that kind of is the case a lot of times, or like sometimes I've even reposted content of like some of my viral moments. For example, even my YOLO on the Battlefield series, one of my most popular things, my most popular video off of that early days was episode 10. I was on episode like 20 of releasing this show, and this is one of my old episodes that ended up blowing up and coming off it. And I was like, I didn't even expect it to do that crazy good, and I had kind of forgotten about it. But then going back, looking at the joke that I made on it, I was proud of it. And then that one ended up but it can go so many different ways that it is hard, and especially because it is yourself that you're putting out there. You're being very, vulnerable to a sense of it. A lot of the content I didn't even have my face on, so that helped me maybe to a degree where I was like, okay, I don't even have my face on this, especially for my early content. But it definitely can be hard, when something doesn't perform or it's declining, when you think that it's, you're even putting out your best work that you've ever done, but maybe it's just the game is not at the state of where you were hoping it would be. Like when Battlefield Hardline came out, like I was so passionate. I was doing like daily videos at the time, but so many people hated the game that like half the comments were even just like trashing the game, especially early on. But I still had fun with it. I still created on it. And that's like, there's also like a certain level of having thick skin to get through some of that and to continue to be willing to post that. I know I hear from a lot of creators that, that's often a stopping point for many people.
If you think like you're talking about your, challenges and things you were facing in the past, like, you were about 6 years ago or so, you were working in finance. And you've always said you enjoyed the job, but how did you know that it wasn't for you? Why didn't you stick to finance? Why did you go into?
Yeah, I mean,
content?
I started creating content back in college, and then when I had graduated, the whole time I'm creating content. When I graduated, I'm still working full time, 7 to 5. It was something that I was good at. It was something that I did enjoy. I had studied economics, and I didn't completely know even the direction that I wanted to go with my life, even going into college. But again, me kind of doing something and sticking to it. I started by doing economics, and I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with it, and kept doing it and completed it just to get it done as quickly as I could so I didn't have to do school anymore. That was like my main goal. And when I went into the job, like I was performing really well. I was probably going to get promoted very soon. Like I was performing extremely well. I had created entire systems for my team to use that I recently heard they still are using to this day, 5 years later. And I'm not even at the company anymore. Right. But the programs and things that I kind of had created, they still use it. Which is also kind of a funny story because one of the guys who's now been promoted and is an analyst there that I worked with all the time, he's like, I still tell people, I tell them about your channel when we get new hires and we're trading them on everything, or, people come in, like, I still tell
this is where StoneMountain64 was made.
And you used it. This is him. Yeah. But it was very much like, it was a very hard decision. And like, I was extremely emotional, even talking to my boss that day and telling him like, listen, I'm leaving this to, go do this other thing, which he knew about. Like I took all my paid time off, went to going to events or to work on my channel or content. The last thing I did really before I quit, I believe, was when I had went and played with Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa at the announcement of Battlefield 1. I was one of the team captains at this event. And then to come back to the office after that and be like, okay, now let me go take some calls, work on some accounts, and do some of this, was like, man, I want to do more of this. And there's more opportunities over here. I'm doing this good with what I'm doing. What if I spent all of, this extra 50 plus hours a week that I'm spending on this other thing, if I could just fully focus on this content? Like there is more, I see more opportunity of what I could do. I could create more videos off of this. I could spend more time, bring some editors on, like work with other people, have time in the day to even work with other creators that I just could not feasibly do with where I was at.
Do you think that Econ background has played in? Like, are you looking at like games and like applying your Econ brain to like games that you play, or like
to a
your
degree,
content?
Actually, like I feel like it gave me a good understanding of just how the world and markets and things develop, supply, demand at its most basic form, or like, that's a lot of what content even is, or consumers wanting to see something or not. Even if it's not for the sake of maybe a physical product, your content is still a product in a way. maybe not all the equations and math and specifics of it all, but maybe some of the higher level concepts I think do seep in, and just like even investment strategy. Thinking about things for 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, to the point of me going over to Facebook and doubling down on content there when I'm making no revenue off of that, but seeing the insane reach that I'm getting off of it and knowing that I can monetize and figure out ways to do that later is like, that was an investment and a decision that I made that I know tons of other creators were aware of, because they were in the same things of people talking about it when we heard about it. Even when I told people about it, they would laugh in my face telling me like, you're on Facebook doing what? Like, because just no creators were there. It was all conglomerate pages that were just ripping content from everywhere else pretty much, or creating their own, pieces from a bigger company, not so much from an actual creator. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to do different, was like, what if you actually got content from a person on the platform? And like, I saw so many more opportunities with that like I wanted to keep doubling down on it. And yeah, it gave me an insight, I guess.
You mentioned about Facebook, and a lot of people in the industry see you as one of the faces of Facebook gaming. You've been with the platform since the very beginning. You've got like an understanding of it more so than many people, and they're always kind of looking to you like, what is he doing? What's working? What's not working? But you've also like been pretty candid, like there's shortcomings with the platform, right? And as you invested so much, how do you balance like your relationship with the platform and some of the clear shortcomings of the platform at the same time?
Yeah, it is interesting, because it does have so much potential with the number of eyes, the number of people that are already there. That was the initial inflection point for me, of like, one of my videos that somebody else posted going insanely viral off of that, and me getting some credit off of that, but just seeing that as like, whoa, okay, this is different. Like, people are just tagging each other. I've been posting videos on YouTube for so long, and nobody ever tags a friend in the comments to come look at the video, especially when I get to see it. Like, maybe they'll send it in a text message or something, but like, I never got to see the effect of what people will do on TikTok, what they'll do on Instagram now, or on some of these other platforms. So that was eye-opening to me in terms of just the potential reach that I can have. Posting videos on there was kind of my first outlet of then getting insane amount of views, of course, hurting my YouTube channel, because I'm no longer getting the ad revenue that I was relying on in many ways on my YouTube channel, of like trying to drive people over to that. But I saw it as like, okay, this is an investment in terms of what does the future look like? What could it even look like with the reach on it? And so creating the content there and getting the reach that I was like, oh man, this is, to me, it was worth it. And I could figure out the monetization and the rest of the formula later. It was like, how do I get more exposure? Especially, again, this is kind of just like all of this stuff that I'd gone through for so many years of nobody watching the video. And this is one of the reasons I appreciate so many in the comments and the views and things that I get, is just like, finally, I don't want to lose that, more or less. And there's kind of a clinging to it in a way, but there is still limitations with it. And even after, I've been streaming on the platform for 5 years now, it's like, there's still so many features that I would love to see, but they're also trying to cater to a massive global worldwide audience, not just stream gaming. And even the stuff that I need, for example, like badges for people that are over 1 year supporting the page. I have people that are 3 years supporting my page that I can't even differentiate in the chat without, with a badge or having a custom badge and something simple like that. But there's not that many people that are even in the position that I'm at with that. So there is a balance where it's like, okay, I am still maintaining a YouTube. I'm still maintaining an Instagram and a whole bunch of other things to diversify where I'm at, because I've also seen the effect over the years of, a creator focusing on Vine, focusing on Mixer, and having only one focus there. And then to even have that platform pulled out from under them. And then it's, what do you do? The people that are diversified out then have more staying power. And to my point of earlier, like, I very much treat all of this as a marathon, not a sprint. This is 100% my lifestyle. Like, I just love content creation. I love watching it. I've been watching it before I even started creating it. There's people that I look up to that even follow me on Twitter now, and I'm just like mind blown still every day. It's just like, it's a journey.
Hey, I just want to take a little pause from the episode to tell you about an amazing opportunity that we have. Stone's going to share a little more details, but if you're interested in growing your stream, then listen to what he has to say.
Did you know there's a proven way to grow your stream? I get that growing your audience can feel impossible. I've been there, but I'm here to tell you that with the right framework, it's not only possible, I try and make it as simple as possible. I spent the last 10 years learning how to hone my craft, and I've distilled the most important things that I've learned into a 1-hour free live training session. I'm going to be talking about the most important things that you should be focusing on to create amazing content, grow your audience, and to monetize. You shouldn't be working hard and not seeing results. I want to save you from working on the stuff that isn't really moving the needle for you. There's a proven framework that every streamer uses to grow. It might be in different ways, but I'll even show you examples of how it's worked with many new creators. So what's the secret? Stay tuned for the session. Find out. Spots are even limited. So make sure to save it now, and I hope to see you there. Just click the link in the episode description to register.
Talking about who you look up, who do you look up to now?
Now, when I look at it, I mean, it's evolved a lot over the years where I kind of always, and I think this is probably the mentality of a lot of people. It's like you hit a goal, you hit 100 subscribers, 1,000, 10,000, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, what's next? You know, you hit affiliate, you hit partner. Okay, now what? You know, it's like, what's the next thing for it? And so I'm always looking for what I always have. Like as soon as I hit something, okay, now I'm getting 10 subscribers a day. How do I get to 50 subscribers a day? Who's getting 50 subscribers a day? Watching their content, understanding what they're doing. And in particular, not just any channel, but like stuff that I actually appreciate and enjoy and like to see, and like what direction do I want to go with it, more or less. So I mean, a lot of the biggest people in this industry now are people that I've been following, some of them since the beginning. For example, like Noah J456 is a dude who had 10,000 subscribers at the time when I met him. Somewhere around there, I had like 2,000, and I was like, damn, this guy's awesome. This is really cool. And I got the chance to talk to him, and he was asking about, you know, a network partnership, and we were chatting about some of those things. And to now see him at like multi-million subscribers, absolutely killing it, his format, his structure, everything that he's doing, a guy like him is 100% somebody that I'm still looking up to and watching. Typical Gamer as well on YouTube. And then there's a bunch of guys on Twitch that I look at. Shroud, Summit 1G are some of the guys that I fell in love with back in PUBG. I've been watching them ever since and really enjoy a lot of their content, what they're doing. Dr. Disrespect as well on YouTube, you know. Now, of course, Tim the Tatman, Courage, Nade Shot, with some, like, these are all people that I am watching and learning and studying. Mr. Beast, of course, as well, even outside of like streaming. It's just like, even in the video space, it's just like, it's incredible too, because I was even talking about this earlier today, is like I started watching him when he had like 100,000 subscribers. He started popping up on my feed with all this crazy stuff that he was doing. I was just like, wow. I mean, I wasn't watching it every day, but I was just like, this guy, this is amazing. And in terms of what he's doing different and building and standing out with some of this stuff, that's just like, I am always on the hunt for any of that information or any of that strategy, insight that I can get.
Speaking about the Mr. Beast, he puts crazy production budgets and stuff behind his videos. Could you imagine, like, play this out? Elon Musk comes to your door, right? He just knocks on your door up in Washington. He comes by on the Sundays and knocks on your door, and he's like, Stone, love your content. $10 million. Here you go. What are you going to make?
That is mind expanding right there. I don't even know. I don't even know what you do with 10 million. You know what would be cool is if I brought together, like, you know, Mr. Beast, Tim, like all these giant creators, and we went down and did to a racetrack and had like an actual race in Tesla Cybertrucks, or, you know, or in Ferraris, or, you know, some supercar. We're all in $1 million cars, and we have a race. That would be something interesting.
That sounds super fun, and also probably dangerous. There may be some lawsuits on that one. 10 mil to pay the lawyers off. Yeah, it's like a full-on YOLO in real life. When you think about content creation as a career, there's this idea of like nature versus nurture. Like you're super talented and you've just got it. Like you've got what it takes. Or there is, you got to work at this, you got to grind at this, you got to get better at this. You've been in the game a long time. You've seen a lot of content creators over the years. Do you think you can have raw talent and that's enough? Or do you think that this really is something, you got to develop?
Whenever I've heard about like nature versus nurture, I don't know if there's even a specific answer on that. I don't think there's so much a super specific answer on this, because I can think of examples on multiple directions for all of it, right? Where somebody's just super talented, they have no consideration for anything business, and they can blow up and go multi-million, and it's just a kid in a basement doing dances on TikTok or something, right? Like there's an aspect of that connects, but there's also still an aspect where you've got to figure out now the taxes or the business, or like actually being able to monetize and know you're not getting ripped off and just making somebody else a ton of profit and you're not getting any of it, or whatever that is. And then there's also the aspect of kind of grinding out and figuring this out, which I feel like a lot of ways is kind of more of the approach that I took. I was never like my public speaking capability, my entertaining capability. I feel like I'd done like a school play. I never wanted to even be in front of that class doing any of the presentations that I had mentioned, to where it was like I really had to build up some of my foundational skills. And even looking back at my old videos, and I think a lot of creators can really relate to this, is just like, man, my content from 5 years ago is terrible. 10 years ago, even a year ago, is just like, I've made so much progress in that time. And going back, listening to myself, even on that old content, like I want to take it all down, to be honest. But it's hard for me to watch it. But it also is like, that's where I came from, and I've gotten so much better from there, to where like me spending the time to learn, to practice, to develop these skills, like I think is a massive way. I do think there is some raw potential that a lot of people can possess, or even that's just like, even if they haven't brought it to social media or brought it to their own brand, they've developed even with another company or another brand. And there's even been some recent examples of this, where like people build their own identity up and their skill set up, even with a different content group or organization, that then spin off and create their entire own thing that is massive and successful with it.
It sounds like your mind is always working, like always thinking about where the angle for the content, like where could this become content, how could this become content. Can you ever turn that off, or is it's just now it's kind of ingrained in you?
This is what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, even when I'm on a vacation and on my honeymoon, having my first kid, whatever, there is this thing that is so ingrained in me over all of this time of it, of like, how do I pull content out of this to make it interesting and to hit audiences and to just have fun or whatever it is, that it's like it is really hard to turn that off and to not think about it. And sometimes I can do okay with it, and I take those for wins for when they are. But there's also an element of when I'm watching a football game, when I'm watching a movie, when I'm watching a TV series, can I incorporate this into any of my content? Is there another direction I can go? So like, it is ever present in my head, to where, and I know that I'm the only person that can do this. I can't task this out to anything. This is like my perspective, my take on whatever it is. But it is something that I've ingrained in myself, and there's a lot of benefits to it too. I'm not like trying to complain of like, oh, this is terrible or whatever. Like, it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of joy and things that come from it. I enjoy it in a lot of ways, but there are definitely times where I'm like, I want to turn it off more. And fortunately, my wife helps me with a lot of that too, in terms of just like having me focus on, just my own life sometimes, especially when I went full time with everything, to just be fully dedicated to only content now. And I don't need to have another job, or like, this is as soon as I wake up to is me falling asleep and not conscious anymore. Cause I got my phone next to me. I jot down notes whenever anything comes to my head, because I forget everything immediately because I'm on to the next thing. So it's like, I got to write those things down immediately before I go to sleep. And I can't tell you how many things I've forgotten because I didn't do that. And those are the hard lessons that I learned in the past, though, to where I'm not always on, and I let this moment slip by and I don't use it. If I didn't make that 100 subscriber thank you video, like that has come up so much in these last couple of years, especially when, everything's made it. Nobody talked about it at any point in any of my early journey. But now that I'm here, like, I'm so happy that I invested that time to do this thing that nobody saw, because I saw it as a win for way later down the road.
When you look ahead, we're at the beginning of the year. You've got 2022's ahead of you. What's the year about for you? Do you have a sense of what you'd like 2022 to be about?
This year is kind of like, I want to really stabilize where I am at, in the sense of continuing to figure out like efficiencies to pull myself out of the weeds of everything that I am involved in terms of now 3 YouTube channels, Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, that's got daily, sometimes multiple daily content, memes, Facebook group, a second Facebook group for supporters, Discord server with over 60,000 people on it. Like, there's so much going on. And there's also like, well, what else can I do? Like, now I even do have more capital to go in, and, I've got over 10,000 supporters, so we can do even crazier, bigger things with some of that. It's like, but I kind of have to make sure that I'm actually completing my obligations. Like, when I'm doing giveaways, do we have our nice system set up for that? Do we have the business manager on what we need to complete obligations for sponsors, and making sure we're set there? The big thing that I'm kind of focused on this year is really overhauling my graphics, which I tried to do last year, but it wasn't to the effect of what I wanted it to be. We did change up some of the graphics. We got some new designs and things, but like, it wasn't at the level, and it wasn't working out. But I've got a new team that I am super stoked about. The progress that we've been making is incredible in terms of like making it something that is a really good experience, that's fun for the audience, they can get bored on. And it does take my content to another level so that I can continue to focus on kind of what the next thing is. That's really the big focus of what I've been working on kind of week to week on some of that. And I'm excited for what we've got going with it.
Sweet. Well, that is super fucking exciting. Stone, was so good to kick off the podcast again. Second season, we're like rolling this out. We've got some incredible guests lined up this year. Thanks for sitting down with us and flipping the camera a little bit and getting you in the hot seat.
I always love it. Yeah, and I'm going to be hosting a ton of these too. We're going to be bringing on other creators. It's going to be a blast. If you guys have any suggestions for people that you would love to see on it as well, let us know. And heck yeah, man, let's kick it.
Sweet. Peace. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I wanted to just end this with a little bit of context on why we do what we do. We're former content creators ourselves, and we just really want to help as many content creators as we can. That's why we started Pipeline.gg. It's a platform where you can find other like-minded creators and learn from the pros who have already been there. Get step-by-step guidance so you can avoid all the mistakes that we made in the beginning. If you love the episode, there's going to be even more inside of Pipeline. So check it out. Head over to Pipeline.gg.